Hello, welcome. As always, this is Vinnie with the Vinnie Marino podcast. I want to thank everybody that's joining in, that will be joining in, watching later at a different date and time from some devices and all kinds of ways that you can listen to the Space Coast podcast studios. There's all kinds of different venues that you can do it easily. You can listen to your car, the bathroom, anywhere you go. I see people listen to it on the iPhone, Apple Watch. Seems to be the big ticket item. So, hey, I want to thank everybody. It's Wednesday evening, November 20th, 2019. Tonight, we're going to have some random topics. We're going to talk about, after the break, we'll probably bring up about the ho, ho, ho and the Grinch, talking about the Christmas holidays or Christmas and everything that's coming up, Thanksgiving and stuff. I do have a guest tonight. I do have a friend. Maybe not after tonight, but I have somebody that showed up tonight, and his name's Vic. He's a local resident here in Brevard County, beautiful Brevard County on the Space Coast. He is Vic. Where are you from? You told me where you're from, but I want to let everybody know. And I've never met anybody that's from this place.
Yeah, I was actually born in Kodiak, Alaska.
Wow. And how old were you when you left there?
Actually, I was about 6 weeks old when we left.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you don't remember too much?
I don't remember anything of it.
And then from there, you moved where, to Brevard County?
No, actually, from there, we moved to Naples, Italy.
Wow.
So my dad was a naval officer at the time, and so I was born on the naval base, and they actually had to wait for me to be like 6 weeks old before he was able to travel. He was an aide to an admiral at the time, and the admiral had gotten transferred to Italy. So, I spent probably the first 2 years of my life in Europe, actually.
Wow. And then you moved back to the States to where?
I'm trying to think of that because, again, being a Navy brat, I know at some point we were in Washington, then we were in Virginia Beach for a long time. And
old age doesn't help your brain any at all?
Oh, man, I got mad cow, man, like you wouldn't believe.
Well, Vic is a friend that I've known for some years. He's why don't you tell everybody, as far as a little bit about you and what you're about, and then we'll get into, he has some topics that he's bringing upon us tonight that we're going to discuss, and I think you'll find pretty interesting. So, Vic, I'll give you the mic for a few minutes and just let people know what you're about, and as far as you want to let them know.
Okay, let me try and be a little careful about this. I think anybody watching the program that knows the both of us knows where I work, so without mentioning that. Yeah. But no, I've actually been in law enforcement for about the past 33 years. I started in 1986 when I put on my first badge and gun.
Thank you for your service, as always.
Thank you. Before that, I was 7 years in the United States Air Force myself. I come from a long line of military people. My mother was in the Navy. My brothers and sisters have all served, cousins, nephews, and what have you. So what I did in the military, I was in the military police, so transitioning out, I came to work for a civilian law enforcement agency here in Brevard County that shall remain nameless. And I've been doing that for about the past 26 years now.
Wow. God bless. And, I'm sure you have seen, people don't understand that when you're in law enforcement, you see things that nobody ever sees and never will see. And it's not a one-time occurrence. You see things numerous times, horrific scenes, all kinds of images that never go away from your head. And that is the truth. I mean, I've seen my share of dealings, and I'm sure, Vic, you've seen many of times. Were you a SWAT team member?
No, I was never a SWAT team member.
A bomb guy?
Never a bomb guy.
A dog guy?
Never worked a dog.
So you were basically a grunt.
I worked in patrol or investigations for my entire career. Yep.
What do you think your most highlighted position that you?
Easy to answer. Well, I could say now from 2009 to 2011, I spent those 2 years as a lieutenant in SIU. We would know we would know that as a narcotics unit.
Did you grow your hair? What you could grow? Or you have a beard?
No, I didn't have any hair, but I definitely got my mandatory, SIU Fu Manchu. I had to grow out.
Oh yeah, that's the first thing they do when they retire. They grow their hair and beard, and when they go in undercover, they grow their hair and beard.
Yeah, nice thing about that job is, you didn't have to dress up every day. As a matter of fact, the way you dressed for that position was you found whatever was in the bottom of the laundry hamper,
Yeah.
and that's what you put on for the day because you had to fit in with everybody else.
I always say when they get done mowing the grass and running their errands, and they're just a dirty mess. That's the best time to go to work. So,
and that's how we went to work.
Oh. Well, also we have present is as always producer Jesse, the man behind the curtain. He's I think he's got a mic. He's got his big thumb, but we're in his studio as always. He keeps it nice and comfortable. I always give Jesse an opportunity to chime in because it's my show, even though he's running all the electronics and everything else and does all the editing and stuff. He is the man that can always chime in on my show because he has a lot of knowledge and he asks a lot of good questions. And speaking of that, let's go right into our first topic. Vic, you brought in some pretty interesting material to talk about, and I'll let you take the helm on this, and then we'll chime in and we'll discuss it. We'll spitball back and forth, and I think everybody's going to really find this pretty interesting. So, Vic, go ahead and tell us what you got here tonight.
Okay, obviously the pressure's on now. You actually, first of all, thank you, Jesse. I know you've been chasing me for about 6 months to come in here and see the studio, and it's an absolutely great place here. So I really like it. It's done very well. The equipment is outstanding.
You're kind. You're kind. Thank you.
I am, and thank you. We ran into each other a couple weeks ago and got talking about, hey, why don't you come on the show? And I'm like, yeah, okay,
man.
So.
I'll bring anybody on my show, man. That's got something they want to talk about. Just don't mind the trash can behind you. It's a pitiful sight.
I'm watching
it's
Jesse,
a small little trash can.
I'm watching that fan behind me. It's kind of haloing over the top
the
of my
oscillating
head there,
fan. It's like a fan with no blade. But and then, sometimes I think we're a little early tonight, but usually we have the 7 o'clock train that rumbles the building.
Yeah, we're right on the tracks, man.
Yeah. Literally. If the train spit a rock up, it's going to damage my Mercedes, and I'm not going to be too happy. So, Vic, just, you know what, man? Just be yourself, spit it out, and I'm telling you, there's no rules here.
Okay, I don't think you want me to be myself, so I'm just going to stick to the topics we got there. Actually, no, what we were talking about a couple weeks ago when we ran into each other was, and as you mentioned, Vinnie, we were talking about what we've seen over the progression of our careers and the things like that, and what a lot of conversations I've had probably in the past 2 or 3 years was the nuttiness that we're seeing in society.
My God.
It's like the things are becoming unglued in certain portions of the country. Very fortunate here in Brevard County, right? Guys, you got to agree with me on
It's so tough being a law
Okay.
enforcement officer in this country, this day and age.
Yeah, there's some places where I can't imagine doing this job. You talk about the Missouris and particularly one of the topics I brought into from San Francisco we'll talk about in a second. But, one of the things I caught, I will scroll through social media and pick up on stories like that. And, it gets to the point where you start yelling at your computer at the house and then your wife starts wondering if you've lost your mind. And, we've had this spate now. It's even happened here in Brevard County. It was in our local paper of, people messing with cops' foods at fast food restaurants.
Oh, that's the worst.
Just another one this week. I'm looking at this young lady, McDonald's employee. Okay, so we're not. I don't want to be critical, but we're not at the top of the socioeconomic strata in career positions.
Right.
But apparently she has, an issue with a local PD out there in California. It happened in Bakersfield. And fortunately, the staff at the restaurant actually caught her tampering with the cops' food. So she got fired. I don't know.
Now, did they serve it to him, or they caught him prior to him receiving it, if you know?
Well, interestingly, the article doesn't specify exactly what she did or how she did. I imagine that's probably some of the franchisees' ways of circling the wagons if something comes around with that. And I can understand that, kind of from a corporate perspective. But, that's not a limited one-time deal. We've seen this like just about every week in the paper is.
Some of them sprinkled, I don't know what they did, but he had a reaction to it. I don't know if it was some kind of, if they did cocaine or something, or I can't remember what they did. But it's not so much even the food. It's that, but it's also they're refusing to serve them.
Yeah, that was another one. Back-to-back stories on one of the law enforcement websites. There was the one about Bakersfield, and there's another one in Roxborough, North Carolina. Guy walked into a restaurant. He was in uniform, went to order, and the person behind the counter said, "I'm not taking your order because you're a cop." How are you running a business like that, and how are you training your employees to deal with customers? I get it. You got some animosity there, but whatever.
There's no training. You're hiring, kids, these millennials who have not ever had interaction with law enforcement, but they follow a trend. They see the things going on in the country and in the world, and they blame, like they're the victim of some kind of police brutality.
Right.
So they hold a whether it's a family member, and sometimes the parental. How many times have you been on a call or been walking around just patrolling on foot, and you see a mom go, "Oh, they're going to take you away." I tell them, I said, "Why do you tell them that?"
Yeah.
So they grow up in fear of cops. So these people, they ended up growing up, or whether they live in an area that they tend to have the cops in their area all the time, or there's a domestic violence incident where the mom or dad go to jail, and who do the kids look at? The cops. You're taking mommy away. You're taking daddy away.
I call them the French fry parents. Those are the ones you see at McDonald's all the time. Say, if you don't eat your French fries, that police officer there's going to take you to jail. That's a horrific message to send to a child.
Yeah, but I know that there's been several occurrences where, and I left my iPad home. Usually I do some research on that. But, I mean, I'm telling you right now, numerous occasions where cops have been served food. What about was it the Starbucks that they told the cops to leave because they felt unsafe?
They had a customer who told the Starbucks staff that she felt unsafe because the officers were there, and they asked the officers to leave. They were in their uniform. And
cops can't get a break. I'm telling you. I'll tell you one thing. I've been a cop since 1987, and the things that cops did today, they've done back then. It's just that everything's more highlighted because there's so much videotaping and everything else. I mean, policing has not changed. The people's changed, I think.
I agree with you. I think society's attitudes towards policing have changed, and they've changed because there's a narrative out there in the media forcing that issue.
Yeah.
But let's be honest here. For that set of young people, we'll call them young people, that have been somehow parentally indoctrinated, if you will, with that don't trust the government, because let's face it, we are the agents of the government, right?
We enforce the Constitution.
We're the first people that most anybody on the street has contact with their local government. It's the cops,
right?
Not the fire people. Everybody loves a fireman, right?
Oh, I mean, firemen, they. Okay. I mean, on holidays, they get all the food. They get TVs delivered to them by the companies, like the nursing homes. I mean, they can play basketball. I mean, they do a lot of things. They can,
They make calendars.
They make calendars. I'm telling you. I mean, when I worked patrol in Merritt Island, I used to hang out in the fire department, and them guys had it made.
Yeah. They're
sitting in recliners, and everybody loves them. But there's sometimes they get assaulted as well.
Well, here's the good news, and I'm gonna. You got to understand the perspective I'm coming from, where I have a lot of people in my charge, and a lot of them are young people.
You said church?
In charge.
Oh, in charge.
In my charge. They're
right.
My responsibility for them. So what I have found, because we have a generation now that's replacing us dinosaurs, if you will, is the good news is our young men and women in law enforcement today are adapting to the stresses being put on them either by the media or society. And in some fashion, I really think it's making them better at their jobs than we were at ours, because we didn't have those people looking over our shoulders with cell phones and video cams. It wasn't on the 6 o'clock news every night. Now, I'm not saying that what we were doing back then was wrong. It was a different time. It was a different style of policing that we see now. So these youngins, as I call them, they're growing into it now. They're used to, okay, I'm pretty sure I need to mind my P's and Q's here because somebody around here's got a camera rolling.
Somebody, right.
And I think that's making them perform better.
Yes, and sometimes I would think that because of the fear of making a mistake, some of them are getting killed because their decisions are not swift because they're worried about, I've seen that, it's in New York, for example. The mayor does not want these cops to act on anything. And remember when they were getting the water thrown on them? Come on. And they were just walking away. They didn't want to do anything because they were in fear of the repercussions if they did anything. I mean, so they're basically letting the people take over the law enforcement. And, back to when we did things back then and how things have changed. I remember any cop that's been a cop for many years would know that. Remember when we had domestics and the way we handled domestics, we would tell them, all right, if I come back one of you are going to jail. You know, that was a thing back, and you know what? We never got called back.
Well,
Never.
I remember watching, old time deputies out in West Cocoa back in the early '90s. They would divorce people on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
And really, it had no legal effect. But you have, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have had way too many many Budweisers that night, and they're having a fight. And I've literally seen deputies go out there and say, "Each one of you touch my badge, and okay, I'm going to divorce you. This is over with now, and you need to behave with each other."
Yeah.
And a lot of times, that simple gesture would calm the whole situation down. You'd never hear another thing. And
well, I moved up here when Brevard became modernized. I was in Palm Beach County, so I can't imagine how when I started in '87, how Brevard County was when policing. Because I used to hear, like, there used to be it used to be so rural. I mean, one deputy would cover miles and miles. And is it true that they had a tower with a light on it, and that when the light was on, you had to call in dispatch?
Yeah,
I heard some rumors about that.
I've never heard that. I remember the days where before we have the spread that we have now in the precincts and geography and the police departments. There would be 2 deputies working the entire width of West Cocoa.
Wow.
And if you needed backup, he had to come from Merritt Island.
Yeah.
Those you hear those stories. Those stories kind of preceded my time a little bit too, but I do remember them.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, when I started down there in Palm Beach, I mean, it was pretty modernized. It wasn't, it was well populated. And then when I moved up here and started here, it was like, wow. And to me, it's still like bedrock. I mean, it's still, but it's fast growing. And when it comes to fast growing, we have to increase the manpower to cover all these new residents moving into county. We got all kinds of fast approaching businesses, Space Center, all these apartment condos that are coming up in Vieira. That attracts so many people, and it attracts a lot of criminals. And that part we'll talk about after the break. When it comes to we're going to try to talk to you a little bit about the holidays and try to how to prepare yourself for them. But you had anything else you want to touch on that on the food issues?
No, I'm gonna leave that alone. That just caught my attention as I was coming in tonight to talk with you.
But that is horrific. And I mean, anybody that's out there, I'm telling you right now, there's nothing that's so disgusting and violating a person's well-being as.
I got one better. Okay, so
yeah.
So apparently this month, the city of San Francisco has elected themselves a new district attorney. Were you aware of that?
No.
Without my cheater specs on here.
Well, I'm gonna get mine on here.
Let me tell you about this guy, Chase Bowden. Now, I'm not a resident of the city of San Francisco, so I don't have to put up with the nonsense out there.
Okay.
Chase Bowden, I think that's how you pronounce his name, just like Bowden College.
And it's in California.
San Francisco.
Oh,
the DA for San Francisco, because they're not wacky and whacked out enough.
And that's a big LBGTQ area.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But I mean, everything's weird over there.
Listen, when you got people taking a shit in the street, then you got problems in your community. Okay. My point with this guy is, first of all, follow the bouncing ball here. I don't know the man personally, so I don't have any personal animus against him. Chase Bowden's parents, both his mother and father. His mother did 22 years in prison. His father is still in prison. They were members of a little organization called the Weather Underground.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, because if you remember the Obama administration in his first election, he had some friends in the Chicago area named Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn. Have you ever heard of those? They were also convicted of bombing some areas. I don't know if it was a police station or a post office. Basically, they were anti-war activists back in the day. So young Mr. Bowden, who as a toddler loses both of his parents to the California penal system, apparently, he goes to live with the other members of the Weather Underground who have now raised him to the ripe age of 34, and he has been elected the district attorney, the chief prosecutor in the city of San Francisco on a pledge and a platform of not prosecuting quality of life crimes, including urination, defecation in the street, and prostitution. So
you know what? Now that you say that, I do recall reading something like that.
Just on the news recently, and as I was reading the platform and reading some of the comments, I thought to myself, you're not a chief prosecutor. What you are is a guy with a progressive agenda masquerading as criminal justice reform. Because He believes that criminal justice reform means you don't prosecute people for quality of life crimes.
That's...
Now,
wow.
I'll tell you what I learned in school in police college. Okay, there was a guy named George Kelling, and I don't want to bore the audience with getting down to weeds here, but George Kelling came up with a theory called broken windows. I know you've heard of that.
Yep.
It's kind of the one Rudy Giuliani used to clean up New York, which says if you address quality of life issues, crime tends to decrease. Okay, you can't leave houses vacant for people to use as heroin.
Yeah,
dens,
they're havens. Right.
That's so. Now we've got wacky California, where in most of the counties out there, in fact, it's a state law, I believe. Guess what? They're not prosecuting shoplifting crimes. So what is the result of not prosecuting shoplifting crimes?
Increase in thefts.
You got mobs of people that are running into stores and stealing shit from the store owners and running out with absolutely no impunity whatsoever. So imagine yourself being a shop owner out there.
Did this guy take office already?
Yeah, he's been elected.
And when did he start?
I believe this month.
Wow, this is going to be a. What do you think, producer Jesse?
Can you imagine? Let's hold on a second.
That's
it's like the movie
Let's think
The
about
Purge.
this for a second.
It's like The Purge.
This is the country that put a man on the moon, developed the internet. You have more computing power in your pocket now than the entire Apollo program used in the form of a cell phone. But we're back to pissing and shitting in the streets.
Yeah. Well,
and that's acceptable.
Is it Las Vegas now that's trying to clean up the streets of all the? These people have kingdoms on the side of the road, under bridges. That it's horrific. And you know what?
Yep.
Behavior that's tolerated continues. So I remember when I was down south, and there was the homeless population there is horrific because it was left unattended. You can't let these people, when they start seeing a problem, you got to move them on. And they're so delicate. They're delicate topics. You can't just go in there and pick them up. And what we used to do back in the day is we used to take them to the other zone, other county, other city, and drop them off. And they used to play football with them. They drop them back in the county. We drop back off in the city. And that's had to stop because, you're getting guys getting, when things back in the day when you used to pull over a DUI back years ago, it was acceptable to lock their keys in the car and make them walk home. Well, until one got hit by a car.
Right.
Then things change.
Drive them home.
Yeah. Yep. So I just can't believe. But if it's left unattended, like San Francisco's going to be in shambles.
Well, look, what you just mentioned, that's squeezing the sausage theory. Okay?
Oh yeah.
You squeeze the problem out of one area, it's got to go someplace else.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So where is that problem in San Francisco going to go to next? That's the question. And I'm sure there's some really great people in San Francisco. Not a place I'm going to go spend my tourist dollars in by any means, but
right.
I'm sure there's some lovely people out there. They're just not what we would consider, down here in the Bible Belt, our kind of people.
Wow.
But I just cannot imagine living in a city or in any community where that has become an accepted standard for anybody.
You know what? Hey, Mom, I need some new clothes. All right, hold on. I'll go to the store and get it. You got any money? Nah, I don't need any money. I'm just going to go in there and take it. And they probably won't confront them in the store.
Well, it gives a new perspective on going to get a new pair of shoes, doesn't it? Because if you're in California, you just walk in, you take what you want, you walk out. Again, I cannot comprehend trying to operate a business in a place like that where when the police show up, there's your train.
There it is. Oh, 6:30 train. Choo-choo.
The cops show up and they're like, well, we don't prosecute that, so we're not going to arrest them in California. Your financial loss. But again, that's down in the weeds. But
yeah,
they certainly have their problems out there.
Well, that's just like this was it the state attorney, Ayala, whatever, didn't want to put anybody to death for committing murders, premeditated murder.
In Orange County, right?
Oh, my God. I don't know if that's ever – I think they took it right. I think the governor took it out of her hands. And
I believe that was reassigned to another prosecutor.
God bless her, man. As a victim's family member, that's an insult. But as while we're still talking about cops, I was talking earlier. Now, this isn't we're talking about, law enforcement officers and the stressors that they have. This is according to the 2011, so this is 8 years ago, study by the Automobile Association of America. And this is true facts, man. I guarantee the numbers are higher because, we all work this business. It's shift work, so you work in graveyards. And this can pertain to somebody who works at Walmart graveyard. But 53% of police officers get less than 6.5 hours of sleep daily compared to 30% of the general population. 91% report routinely feeling fatigued. 14% are tired when they start their work shift, and 39% admit to having fallen asleep at the wheel. So I'm telling you, we talked about this earlier. When you work midnight shift, I mean, people say, I love midnight shift. I mean, it's nice because it's cooler. You don't have all the craziness.
Less traffic.
Less traffic, you got a lot of downtime where you can, communicate with car to car, like you see cars parked in the parking lot. And you have more time to, just kind of do proactive stuff. And everything you go to is in progress for the most part.
Right.
Every call that comes out is in progress. So it's exciting. And these guys, they get home at, sometimes 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're pumped up. It's not a job sitting at a desk. These guys are patrolling the streets all night long. So they get home, they're amped up. It's hard to fall right to sleep. I usually could fall right to sleep, but I would be up in 4 hours. I'd be up by 11, 12 o'clock. I'd be wide awake. And then it's like, all right, shit, I got stuff to do. So I get stiff done and said, all right, I'll try to take a nap. I lay down to take a nap. If my shift started back then when I was working nights, it was 11 to 7. I'd fall asleep about an hour before I had to get up.
Right. Yep.
Never could I lay down. And I'd be up and I'd feel like crap. And then I'd go to work and it'd take me a little while to wake up. So it's tough for cops to work overnight because you can go out if you're
and you're talking about working 8-hour overnight shifts.
Yeah, that was 8 hours.
11 to 7 as opposed to a 6 p
right.
to 6 a.m.
I've never done a 6 p to 6 a.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, we're day walkers. We're not meant to be up all night, okay? So you get people who can go out. Okay, you get off of work at 5 o'clock in the evening. You go out with your friends. You're out all night long. You get home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you get to bed by 4 in the morning. 3 in the morning. You get up at 7 o'clock to go to work. You pretty much can function pretty good. Try getting home at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. Sleeping for 3-4 hours, and you got to get up and go to court, or you got to do something. It's a totally different animal. I'm telling you, your body is not trained and will never be trained to that because there's people who's worked midnights forever. Wake them up in 3 hours after they lay down from falling asleep after getting off a graveyard shift. Can't function. It's not the same, but you can function the other way. We all been there. We all went to bed at 4 in the morning, got up at 7, and I mean, we're a little sluggish, but I'm telling you, you can get out of bed. I mean, I had more problem getting up at, I used to get up at 10 in the morning, 11, and I couldn't fall back to sleep. It was terrible.
Well, add kids into the mix and appointments to take your kids to and what have you.
Oh, my God.
Hold on a second. Let's call a timeout here, though.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing that bothers me is let's not start portraying ourselves as victims, those of us in law enforcement.
Oh, no, but it's a tough life.
I hate that. We're not crab fishing in the Bering Strait. We're not working the flight deck of an aircraft carrier.
Right.
Okay. Certainly, what we do is dangerous. It has its moments, but I think the general public pretty much understands it for the most part. Police work is kind of boring. It can be because you're running.
Parts.
Depending on what time of the day,
yes.
what day of the week it is, and what have you. You're going to take a report because Mrs. Muffin got her credit card, skimmed or something like that. So, I really don't like when I read articles about. Okay, so I let off with one. So the food issue, that's an ongoing issue. We don't know about it. If you're that concerned as a police officer, deputy sheriff, whatever, state trooper, don't eat at fast food restaurants.
That's the way that you can prevent it. Just don't eat there.
I don't like the idea of suddenly now we're the victims. We're not victims.
No.
We're not victims of anything.
We can't be a victim of anything. But, I mean, and that pertains, like I originally said, it pertains to anybody who works graveyard. Walmart workers.
Oh yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Absolutely.
Man, I'm telling you, working graveyard shift, some people love it. But I'm telling you,
I don't, because I don't like to get up for 8 o'clock morning in the office.
I don't even know if it's healthy for you because you do lose a lot of sleep. I mean, even right now, how much sleep do you think you require?
Require or get?
Well, get, okay.
I probably get a good 7 hours a night.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually I'm.
But I work an office job.
Yeah.
So.
But still,
I got to be in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm fine.
We're talking about health and well-being. I mean, they want you to get at least a good 8 hours of sleep. I'd probably get about 7.
You're never going to get that in law enforcement. You're never going to get 8 hours. Unless you're on a day off or you're on vacation, you're never sleeping for 8 hours.
I seem to get up early every morning, 6 o'clock, no matter what.
Jesse, how did this conversation turn to the sleep patterns of
law enforcement officers? I don't know. But what we're going to do is...
Boy, did our train run off the track on that one.
Yeah, we're at our over our halfway point, or at our halfway point. I don't know. Jesse's got this goofy timer here that I don't know what he's counting down or counting down, okay? Counting down. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our first break, and we're going to come back and talk about the Christmas holidays coming up and what we can try to instill on you to maybe lessen your chance of being a victim. next, coming up. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Steve Vitani, Brevard resident and realtor with RE/MAX Elite. I'm excited to announce my new, very own podcast show, Steve Talks 321. We are on Facebook Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about the most current real estate trends, hot topics, as well as anything along the Space Coast in Brevard County. I'm excited to share all of the latest happenings throughout Brevard County and also to hear from you. Please like this page, Steve Talks 321, and share this page and podcast with your friends. Thanks a lot. I hope to hear from you guys soon.
Hello, America. We are Ruthless Politics, Vladimir Putin's favorite podcast.
Hello, American podcast listeners. I am Vladimir Putin. I like this podcast. I like this guy Trees. Kid Groening, not so much.
Tune in every Tuesday for Ruthless Politics Podcast, live from Moscow. Just kidding, folks. Live from the Space Coast Podcast Studios in sunny Florida.
No, but for real, every Tuesday, check it out. And you could see it on the YouTube, the Facebook, and the Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. I'd like to welcome everybody back. As you see, we're erect. we're standing up. You know, when you get old, you got to stretch out the old bones and maybe take the stress off the old sphincter.
I just stood up because I thought the shirt was making me look fat.
Jesse, you don't have the skinny cam on. What's going on with that?
Slim me down. Slim me down.
Well, hey, welcome back from our first break, and I got Vic Desantis here with us. He's been instilling a lot of good topics with us. I like him, man. He's all right. He's an all right guy.
Good guy.
He's a fellow bald-headed guy. This is going to be a little roundtable discussion here. We got producer Jesse got a mic in his hand, and as we all know that this is the time of year, and I said it on a few shows that everybody's happy and gay. Everybody. This is the time of year that. Your nose is cold. Everybody likes to, be happy with everybody and be friendly and, open doors for you and, happy Merry Christmas, happy holidays. But also coming with the holidays comes, the increase of thefts. And I think the our local agencies here know that. So they actually they step up the patrol. They do a lot of special ops, in areas where there's chances of potential thefts going on, in mall parking lots and stuff. So what we're getting at is, how to try not to be a victim. And a lot of people, they feel safe. They think they're safe. They think, oh well, I got my car locked. But people don't want to move things out of the plain view of a person. So what I'm getting at is people go out in a day, and I'm not, they're not assuming they're going to commit a crime, but if they're walking through the mall and it's Christmas, and they see a car that has items that are displayed that are potentially like a treasure, somebody's going to end up breaking in there and smashing a window. So there's also ways to protect yourself when it comes to like payment forms of payment, because we all know that technology these days. People, they're fast to whip out the credit card. I would prefer to use a credit card versus a debit card. The ultimate goal is, and I know, and I heard, I know there's risk of carrying cash on you, but cash is king. When you use cash, you don't have, but then there's a potential you could be a victim because somebody sees your wad of cash.
Great way to fluster a cashier too, because they're not used to dealing with cash anymore.
Yeah, it's like, what is this? Is this what is this stuff? So, Vic, when you think about people that you can instill some advice to, as far as once they start getting ready, they're into the shopping mode and they want to get out there and they want to hit the malls and stuff, and these are the ones who are the sheeps of the world, who have no fear and just leave things in the car, or just take it for granted and just walk around carrying all kinds of, because there's a lot of grabs, these sudden snatchings and stuff. And let's face it, there's a lot of bad people. We live in a safe era. We have a great police department here, and they do what they can, but they can't be everywhere. So it's up to the citizen to try to defend the bad guy. And Vic has been a cop for many years, and he's seen a lot of things, and he's probably got a lot of good information as far as some tips that maybe you can use when you're going out into the world and plan on buying a lot of Christmas gifts.
Yeah, let me say this. Number one, I think we've all heard the term situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So as a common sense measure, and some of the things I might describe are pretty much common sense. You've probably heard them through crime prevention campaigns before, and I don't want to usurp anybody's message on this. But look, there are groups of people that do venture out into parking lots of malls and things like that for the sole purpose of stealing what you just bought.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that comes down to, again, we call those volunteer victims. You have $300-400 worth of gifts. Your first inclination, because you have to move on to the next store, is to go dump them in your car. And rather than locking them in your trunk, you think they're safe in the back seat of your BMW.
Right.
And when you come back, all of your product is gone because somebody smashed your window or jimmied your door. That's number one. Lock up your freshly bought items in the trunk of your car. It's way harder to get into than it is to break in the passenger
And out of
compartment.
sight.
And out of sight. So don't bait them to come and thieve from your car. That's number one. Again, walking through parking lots, and this goes for men and women in general. You have to be aware of who is moving around you all the time.
Right.
There's a lot of purse snatchings this time of year because the people that are predisposed to commit those crimes, what do they know? You've got your credit cards handy, or you've got your cash ready, and it's in that nice swinging purse just laying there on your shoulder.
Right.
So we see a lot of purse thefts this time of year. We call those what? Snatch and grabs.
Snatch and grabs.
Okay, they snatch them, they grab them, they go.
Sudden snatching.
Sudden snatching. Robbery by sudden snatching is the statute. So that's number two.
Mm-hmm.
Really what's spiked up in the past year and a half is porch pirating. Because
that is a big thing, because where does everybody buy their stuff?
They're Amazon crazy, or wherever they're getting it from, Overstock or Wayfair. They're having it delivered to their front door in the middle of the day where they're still at work. And when they come home, their little ring doorbell goes off to tell them, all the stuff you just bought is now in the possession of somebody else because you weren't there to sign for it or receive it. So
it's a thing where you think you try to do something that's, hey, okay, I don't have to go to the store.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry money. I don't have to worry about walking out to my car. I'll just order from home. But then you got to have a defense mechanism at home.
Correct.
To defend, because what do the bad guys do? And it's a big thing. They follow what do they follow around the neighborhoods?
The FedEx and the UPS trucks.
Yeah, they follow them around. And the greatest invention was that doorbell thing.
Yeah, the Ring doorbell.
Oh, my God. That is great. So how do you think people can combat? I mean, well, there's only one foolproof way is have somebody there when a package comes.
Well, I'll tell you what, you need to take advantage of some services here. And I do this myself. You guys know I'm a photographer, right? So I am constantly, I'm kind of a gearhead.
Mm-hmm.
So I have things coming to my house by Amazon or B&H or Adorama or one of those. And some of those items can be $1,000 or several $1,000s.
Oof.
But I take advantage of the service that FedEx and UPS provide because they'll normally have a drop-off point. So a lot of my stuff comes, I don't want to pitch the company or give an advertisement. That big FedEx company, they have drop-offs at the local Walgreens now. So if you have high dollar items that are coming to your house, have them sent to the nearest Walgreens where they're safe and secure. You go and present your ID to them. They sign your package to you. You get in the car. You go home with it. I do that on almost everything above $100 anymore.
Now, Vic, what happened to the day? Remember, you used to have to sign for shit. Now they don't even knock on your door. I opened my door when I had a package. I'm like, can't even knock. Right. My dog got alerted, but I was like, somebody's out by my door.
Well, that depends a lot on where you're shopping from. You can request,
Amazon. If I get anything, it's coming from Amazon.
Well, it's probably not coming from Amazon. It's coming from an Amazon distributor.
Yeah, well, UPS,
right.
But they don't knock. Remember, they used to knock on a door. I guess they felt it was inconvenient for them because then they have to make a second trip out or a third trip out to try to deliver a package.
Well, what they used to do in my neighborhood, at least, is they used to put a tag on your door, right, Jesse? They put a tag on your door that says, your signature is required, so you need to come to this UPS office, or we will try and re-deliver it tomorrow at 5 or what have you.
But do you have the option to have it checked for sign for delivery, or is they just deliver it?
I believe you can get on some of those websites and you can create just a little profile for yourself, and you can give delivery instructions.
Right.
So again, if you've got a high dollar item, something you pay more than $100 for, or something like that, $100 is a lot of money to most people. Just you can request that the person shipping it to you request when they ship it to have a signature required on delivery.
Right.
Or you can do the simple thing I do is just have it delivered to an alternate address like a Walgreens or whatever their pickup point is. And I think probably this year and next year we're going to see a lot more of those services popping up in different businesses.
Yeah,
to
because
receive packages.
I mean, you gotta not do we have to, but the delivery companies have to combat these porch pirates.
No, I disagree. I don't think they have to. They don't have to combat anything. Their job, and they get paid to take that package from point A
to point
B, and whether it gets
so
stolen
I guess
or
they
not,
don't really care if it dropped off and it gets stolen.
Look, if your stuff from Amazon is stolen, FedEx doesn't care, and UPS doesn't either. They've done what they got paid for, which was to deliver it overnight or second day.
Yeah, and there's an unwritten waiver that we all kind of signed to and agree to, whereas, hey, it's going to be more convenient for me just to leave it at the door because I don't plan on being home between 8 and 6 during the day. I'm at work, so yeah, I'm not going to be able to sign. So just leave it at the door, and I'll get it when I come home.
Yeah.
So it's a.
So you Vic, you see a lot of statistics in this county. Is it pretty much to say that the statistics of crimes of thefts go higher during the Christmas season?
You probably see a few more thefts, around the holiday season because there's it's a crime of opportunity there. You don't have to go looking for it. It kind of presents itself. If you're a criminal, it's kind of right there in front of you. But it's really no different than the summertime. We have problems along the beaches, and because there's groups of criminals that will move up and down the coast, hitting all these beach accesses. And for the most part, people that live in our community are aware of this because we've kind of just drum that message into them.
Very proactive.
But think about this. We have a lot of people that come here as visitors and tourists who get their rental cars and what have you.
Yeah,
those are the people most susceptible because hey, look, it's the sun, it's the surf, it's the sand. They're having a great time here. They've taken a cruise. They've been to Disney. They're not in the mindset of realizing I'm going to leave my camera and my briefcase and my laptop computer in the backseat of my rental car, and then two cretins from Miami come up here, smash the window, and it's gone in a minute.
We do get a lot of people up. And what I suggest sometimes is, now that we're in we time change and everything, and it gets darker earlier here. I mean, 5:30, 5:45 is starting the sun go down. I mean, if you're driving to stores, park in a well-lit area, number one. I mean, that's just common sense, you would think. Don't park too far away from the building if you don't have to.
Right.
Don't try not to go in the no ding zone. You might have to get a ding or two, but you're going to have to park closer. I always say, when you leave the parking lot, keep your cell phone. Sometimes I used to tell people if it's a female and they're shopping by themselves and they're going on a parking lot, make a phone call to somebody. Call somebody on the phone or just talk on the phone if there's nobody to talk to. Just talk so somebody's going to think, oh, I don't want to try to, accost this person because they're on the phone.
You can pretend to talk to somebody on the phone. No one's going to know the difference.
Right.
Okay. If you're walking to your car.
Yep. And that's a good thing to do. I mean, sometimes, some women, they keep a whistle. Some people, they tell them if you have a key, which most of these cars don't have keys anymore. They're just like a fob, but they have and they keep them in their fingers, and it'd be like a weapon in case they're getting attacked. But, I mean, try to keep it in an area that's, and if you have somebody to shop with somebody. Go out. Don't go out by yourself. And if you feel uncomfortable, if you got out of the car and you see somebody out there standing just lurking around, go back in the store.
And tell somebody about it. That's exactly right.
Don't ever assume that the guy, they might come up, hey, I have a flat tire, or I have, they're going to try something to get you to either move towards them or, because I'm telling you, most of the times when you see something and it just doesn't seem right, you're usually pretty right.
Probably isn't right. Yeah, I agree with you.
So not only, go ahead, Vic, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, one thing that I've consistently, I have 3 boys and a daughter. My daughter's in her mid-20s now. My wife she's been a cop's wife for a couple of decades now. I don't want to age us both, but, so you tend to lay off those tips on them as well too. And, you're perfectly right about if you're alone by yourself this time of night, look, it's dark at 4:45 in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
But when you leave a store and you're headed to your car, be prepared to get in your car right away. And that doesn't mean fumbling around in your purse for your keys or things like that. Be prepared to walk from A to B and get immediately in your car. Because if somebody's going to attack you and you get the drop on them, that's the safest place you're going to be. And then you can employ a 911 phone call from your cell phone.
Exactly. Yeah. So don't dilly-dally. I mean, just if don't worry about stuffing your stuff in your trunk if you don't have to, because if you're leaving, just jump in the car, throw everything in the car with you.
Right.
And not only does it extends all the way to your house. So when you get home, and we all like to put our Christmas trees up, people's probably had them up now for a month already. And the way things have changed, because I think Christmas skipped over Halloween. Yeah. It's beat out Thanksgiving, and now, people I see with Christmas trees up already. And, they like to put the tree right in the big window of the front of the house.
Right.
They want everybody to see that beautiful tree. And then they like to stack gifts under there, okay? And you think, only everybody's going to adore that, but also guess who's looking at them?
You better have a big German Shepherd laying under that Christmas tree.
Yeah, because, people, it just doesn't extend to the car. It extends to your house because now they see all these gifts under a tree. And, those are the guys we call the Grinch, And one thing I'll tell you about this county is, the sheriff's office here, they are very proactive and they're very animated when it comes to crime prevention. And they actually do their stints and their skits. And it's very, knowledgeable to people, or what word am I looking at? Very informative to people and how to protect themselves, And it's true. I mean, what they do, they give a lot of awareness to people who think, oh, you know what? Yeah. But it's true. I mean, you got to protect your residents as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And you have to constantly remind people from time to time because, look, we all get complacent, right? So that is an ongoing message that's probably never going to stop. But that we're not, if you're a cop, that's not that message is not for you.
No.
Okay, because you've been in this business. But people that are architects or doctors or lawyers or whatever they are, engineers, they don't think in our mindset all day long. They think about what they need to do at their job, taking their kids to the dentist, paying their mortgage payment. That's what's going on in their mind, or getting their Christmas shopping done. So they're not in that hyper-awareness state of mind that your normal cop is, and all the time wondering, okay, I'm taking my family to eat Cracker Barrel tonight, and I got to make sure I got my back, don't have my back to the door, and I can get to my gun if I need it. And it's sad sometimes if you think about it, but it's reality.
Yeah. I kind of get like when my girlfriend and I go out to dinner. I mean, she's military, so it's kind of like she kind of takes that position as well. And I'm like, hey, I can't stand my back. I can't stand it. It just really bugs me to have my back to the door. But back when I was on patrol, I mean, with this agency, we used to do like special ops. We should do operations, And one was during the season, we used to go and get on foot and we'd walk through the mall parking lot.
I remember that.
And we'd have little cards and we would see things that are like way out of place that you leave it in your car. I mean, purses, cell phones, wallets. I couldn't believe the things that were people left exposed. So we would write a little message and we would tag it on the car. Well, a lot of people think they were getting tickets. Hey, I got a ticket on my car and I got to pay some. I try, we try to do everything we can, and it's like on deaf ears. People still don't want to get the point that you can't. And I told you earlier, the first time you feel safe, you become a victim. I don't think there's anything that makes you feel safe. I mean, people that live in gated communities and they think, oh, well, I'll leave all the gifts in the car because I don't want to bring them in the house. But I live in a gated community. False sense of security. I think there's people that are we shop in stores, and then the other people, they shop on us. They look for the opportunities, and they go to the neighborhoods that people think they're comfortably safe.
Okay, let me go back to mindset for a second. Your gated community. So, what kind of homes do you find inside of a gated community?
Big ones.
Okay, and big ones, and they're normally expensive, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to play that I'm the average criminal today.
That's where I would go trick-or-treating, because why? They got the full-size candy bars.
Thank you very much. Well, it's the same at Christmas time, too.
Yeah.
So you got to figure, number one, you got large homes and gated communities. These are high-dollar houses. Chances are they got some very high-dollar stuff in them. So if I'm Johnny Criminal, quite frankly, and not to be abusive to anybody, but am I going to go break into a single-wide trailer in Canaveral Groves?
No.
And I'm sure there's great people up there. I'm not being disparaging. I'm just thinking like a criminal.
Hey, we all...
Or am I going to go hit a house in Tortoise Island instead?
Yeah, because you know what? I've noticed a lot of times, and people that they usually their garages are not meant for their cars. They park all their garbage in there, okay? Boxes,
golf clubs.
Right. And then they leave their car outside. And what do they leave in their car outside, inside the car? Their garage door opener. I said, you're leaving a key to your house. They're like, oh, wow, I never thought about that, because they don't think. So you're right. People will go shopping in these expensive neighborhoods. I mean, the same way we went trick-or-treating. We all wanted to go to the nice neighborhood because we know they had the best candy, And
look, I bet a good portion of people watching this, when they go in their house at night and they click that little garage door opener on the side of their entryway, think they're safe for the night. I wonder how many of them actually lock the interior door when they go through their...
Oh, yeah.
I never use the front door at my house. I go through the garage.
Yeah.
But
That's
I can
the
tell
front
you...
door.
Yeah, that is my front door.
Uh-huh.
The front door is for, like, the VIP guests.
Right.
Everybody else comes through the garage.
It's always an inconvenient place to go to. They have it on the side of the house.
But to your point, if people understood how easy it is to open an automatic garage door opener without the clicker, they would think twice about not locking that interior door.
Yeah.
Because you're giving somebody an invitation to come in and home invade you.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
And
particularly if you're in a $high-dollar house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you. And I always tell people, if, these sliding glass doors, you got to have an extra. You can't just rely on the simple lock that they give you, because those can be, they can go around that easily. And I tell people they sell devices. For the amount of money that it would cost you to really secure your house is nominal.
Well, if you want to spend $100 to secure $30,000 worth of your wife's jewelry, it's a good investment. You get a nice ROI on that one.
Yeah, when I would go into a house and I would look around, and usually if it's during the holidays, I tell people, I said, you're just advertising, you're welcoming people to come in here and just take your stuff. And you know what? And I tell them, lock your cars. Don't leave things available. Back in the day, Vic, criminals used to smash. Remember, you used to have the club and everything. Okay, that can be overturned. They can get around that. But you know what? Why go with a car that's locked or has a club on it if you want to steal it when you got the next door guy who don't lock it? So that's what they do. The modern criminal now, they just check door handles. Why draw attention? They might get one burglary if they smashed out to try to get the stuff out of the car, where they could just go check a car door, and you come out in your car and you're like, hey, man, my glove box is wide open. I had all my gifts in here. They're gone. No way.
And people, Steve, calling you your brother, Vinnie.
Oh, by the way, he said hi to you. He was on. I don't have my iPad, so I'm kind of like floating around with my little phone that I can't see a damn thing on. But it's proven that. I'll tell you what. I tell people, if it's 3 a.m. and your dog's barking.
Dog's barking for a reason. Yep.
People used to say, when I used to go in there and had a rash of burglaries, and everybody's shit stolen. They're like, my dog was barking last night. What'd you do? Oh, I just told him to shut up. Usually there's a person who sees or hears something and they just ignore it. Right. So in closing on this topic, people just, holidays are coming. People get out of their mind. They don't have the money to buy their kid the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. Dad's got to get the kids some gift. They don't really realize the real meaning of Christmas because people are stressed out because they don't have the money to buy a gift. When it's really not what it's all about. Am I right, Jess?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So,
he's gone totally off into sociology now.
But
he's like
for
way
women,
off the topic
you better buy them some shit because they don't understand. They don't want to know the real reason. The reason is they want stuff. They want stuff. And if you go, you know what, honey, I didn't get you anything because you know what, I don't want to lose the real reason behind Christmas. And then you're gonna find your ass out in the door. Okay, so. Vic, any final thoughts about the, anybody that you might want to touch on or anything you want to touch on about anything we talked about tonight?
I just want to remind everybody, look, you really need to be aware of what's going on around you at all times, okay? Some bad stuff is not going to happen to you all the time, but you kind of got to be prepared for some bad stuff to happen because you can, look, I don't go to the movies anymore without being armed like I'm engaging in close quarter battle in Fallujah.
Because it's been proven. You're in a dark area, you're confined in there, and if somebody comes in there with a gun, you don't want to be on the short end of that. We've been very fortunate in this community that's not happened, but it has happened in other places where people thought to themselves, it will never happen here. Yeah.
And it has.
You know what? Real quick, and I'll just touch because you talked about that. The Coco Wawa, did you see that? They had a guy beating up on a security guard. And our sheriff in this county says The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Well, there was a good guy in there that happened to be there with a gun. And there were 2 guys beating up the security guard. And there were people bashing, why did the security guard get out? Why, whatever. This guy went out and basically he confronted him. And apparently, according to him in the reports, that they aggressively advanced towards him. So he shot him. I don't know if I don't think he died. But you know what? Hey, you have to be prepared, man. I mean, that's one thing about this county, man. There's a lot of armed people in this county. Well, the Second Amendment is very strong here in Brevard County.
You have to be, you got to absolutely be prepared, but you also have to be very smart with people too, because another thing I see a lot of is unnecessary violence stemming from road rage incidents.
They just had something.
That's why I brought that up. Look, be smart in your car. You got to think to yourself: is getting cut off in traffic or a guy tailgating you, is that enough to get out and have a physical confrontation over? If it's not, stay in your car. Go on your merry way and forget about them. You can't solve all the jackasses in the world.
And my solution to that is, okay, if they're following you and they're waving a gun or they're doing whatever, they just won't get off your ass. They just call 911. Hey, I got this crazy lunatic, and you could be armed, okay? You don't have to confront him. There's an avenue to get out of it, okay? And then you just say, hey, where's your cop at? I'll drive to them. Tell me where to go, and I'll drive there. Just tell them to. There's so many ways to avoid an armed confrontation because it doesn't even have to be armed. But eventually it might stem to it because there was just something that was something else. But it was, where it could be a fist fight. It doesn't even have to be a firearm involved. The guy could smash your face in and you could fall, hit the ground wrong, and die or be paralyzed. Mm-hmm. So avoid that.
That's why I say you got to be smart about things because you know what? Okay, everybody wants to get out and be Billy Badass out of their car, and because of egos and everything else. But look, I have people tailgate me every day of the week in my unmarked police vehicle. I got to tell you, I ignore a lot of people, or I give them a little flash of light. It tends to back them up real quick. Yeah. But I don't want to get out and confront. Obviously, if they're committing a traffic offense, I'm going to address that. But when I'm in my POV, I let it go.
Especially if you have your family in the car.
Of course, yeah.
Why
put them in that position?
No, it's not worth. You know what, Vic? That's a pretty good topic. That if you ever want to come back on after tonight, if you're not shell shocked.
Not after tonight, I'm never coming back on this.
But Vic's got between the two of us, and Jesse, Jesse has about a half a minute of law enforcement experience. Yeah. But between the two of us, we got over 60 plus years.
We all know enough to be dangerous.
I'm telling you, there's not too much that we haven't seen or dealt with. And, the new modern policing is different because, a lot of these kids are tech savvy. A lot of them don't have the communication skills that we have and had, because these new tools that are coming out for law enforcement. I'm like, oh, God, too many gizmos, tasers, I remember one time I could actually use my taser, but I forgot I even had it. It was like I was fisticuffs. So the modern policing is a little bit different. But, that's true, though, Vic. People put themselves in a position where they don't really have to be.
No, and the greatest weapon that we carry?
Our mouth?
Our mouth. That's
wow, I got that right.
Greatest implement that we carry in anything.
And words are like deadly. They're spears, okay? And I always used to tell people the old nursery rhyme, sticks and stones may break my bones, but name will never harm. They said something about my mom. I'm going to kill that sucker. I'm like, do they know your mom?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Or if they say something about your wife, go ahead, take her. You can have her. Take all the problems that come with her too, bro. And no refund.
I'm not prepared to validate that statement because I got to go home after this, so I'm leaving that one alone.
All right. Well, we're at the hour. I think we're 1 minute and 23 seconds over the rack here because I'm watching Jesse's new timer, and it's going like dollar signs. It's moving up. So I just bust Jesse, producer Jesse.
It's okay.
So I want to thank everybody that joined us. I want to thank Vic for showing up, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Dude, I'd love to have you back anytime. If you want to gather up some more material of anything and you want to...
Listen, you write me another check, I'll be here.
Hey.
I'll have to give you a 1099.
That's all right, I'll take it.
Because he's making big bucks. I have to give him the big buck check.
Yeah, all right.
I want to thank producer Jesse for having us here. Jesse, it's always a pleasure working here. Jesse does a lot of work. He just doesn't sit here. For those of you who actually have been into the studio before or possibly looking to do a podcast, this guy does a lot of selfish work. He does a lot of editing after the fact. It just doesn't end when we leave. Jesse's got a lot of stuff to do. He's got a lot of downloading to do. Puts it on all different kinds of stations and stuff. So he does a really good job. And anybody that's interested in becoming a podcaster, Jesse's very flexible. He's available when you're available because basically it's your studio and Jesse's just the man behind the curtain. So thank you, Jesse, for all that you do. I've been running a lot of shows with Jesse, and it shows the reason why, because he's a good guy. He does a good show. So just wish you get a bigger trash can.
Great space here too, and now his super secret. It's
flashing red. It's telling me get the hell off. But hey, the on-air sign's going off air. So again, hey, I'm Vinnie, and I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Next week is Thanksgiving. Gobble gobble. Enjoy your holiday. Have a safe Thanksgiving. I don't know if I'm going to be on Wednesday. I don't know. When's Thanksgiving? Thursday? Yeah. I mean, I might throw a turkey day in there. I don't know, on Wednesday. So we'll see if Jesse's available. But God bless. Stay safe. Support our president. Support our country, man. Stand behind what's right. So thanks, Vic, again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Producer Jesse and the Space Coast Podcast Studio. I'm Vinnie. Peace out.